Wednesday Live here on the Urban Gardener. My name is Enoch. I'm your host, and really glad to have you all here with me today. Even all of you who are joining us on the replay. And if you're here, remember, get into the comment section, whether that's here on a computer, down below, if you're on mobile. But let us know you're here and let us know what you got growing on, where you're growing from. If you got any questions, comments, or anything like that, again, welcome to our weekly live stream. This is Wednesday Live, where we get together each week here on the Urban Gardener and talk about gardening, talk about what's growing on in my gardens, what's going on in your gardens, talk about some of our videos, some of our projects, talk about all the different things that we got going on here. And really glad to have you all with me too. So lots of things going on. Again, it's springtime. That's kind of the story every single week right now. We've got a lot of different projects, a lot of things going on in the gardens. A lot more I wish I could be sharing with all of you a little bit faster too when it comes to getting videos out and content and being able to catch up with some of the things that we got going on. We got a lot of stuff. We're planting stuff still. We've still got new things that we've been starting to seed out for our warm weather crops. So yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of things done. And that's the case when you've got a lot of things going on in gardens like I do. And, so we can really, take some real schedule and management when it comes to working some of these things and making sure we're getting the things done like we need to. I am really flying blind right now. I don't even know if I'm live or anything, actually. This computer is giving me a hard time today. So I hope everything's running fine through the phone and the actual live stream. I'm going to try to restart this here. Maybe see how that goes. If not, I might have to check the phone real quick and see if everything's running all right, because I can't see comments or anything right now. The computer just wants to not do what it's supposed to be doing. So yeah, let me see here. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to handle comments unless I go and get my other laptop, which is something I could do here. So I do apologize. Just hold on one moment. I'm just going to switch this out real quick and get that done, because we are live.
Middleburn, we.
Whoa. Well, that's a real great way to start the live stream. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. The computer was working pretty fine. Everything seemed to be going really well until I needed to get things going, and I was sending off that first message for the live stream there, and all of a sudden it just decided to go, I don't know where. It's still trying to figure out what it wants to do. So we'll let it do that over here. Luckily, I have another laptop here that I can work with and be able to see if anybody's in here. There we go. All right. So anyways, again, we've got a lot of things going on in the gardens, I want to thank you again for joining with us for this live stream. And if you have any comments or any questions, please let me know. For those of you who are watching on the replay, again, write down in the comments there and let me know what you got going on, what you got growing on yourself this week. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on. I'm still planting things out from some of our soil blocks. I'll have a video on that coming out real soon. We've got also seeding out some of our summer crops, so I've got some of that. We might kind of combine that one and put that video out real soon. So I've got a lot of stuff that I just need to kind of put together and get those things out, get caught up with what's going on in the garden and everything. And then I've got a few other projects that we're working on over the next couple of weeks, which we'll be doing videos on and putting out too, which I think will be really kind of fun and really neat. And then there's this next month, which just today I've been kind of finalizing some of the ideas and some plans on what's going to be my first trip out of town and for this channel in a year and a half. Wow, man. To think about the time that it's been since I've actually gone out and gone and done some visits and done some things, because that's one of the things I really like enjoy about doing the videos and the things for this channel is not only to be able to share the sort of things I've got growing on in my garden and how I'm utilizing my spaces, you know, the alleyway space, you know, a cement patio, small spaces, you know, that sort of thing. I like to be able to share those things, but at the same time, I am so interested in a lot of really cool projects that are out there, and have a lot of people that I know, a lot of friends within my gardening social network, you know, from Southern California, Los Angeles, and a lot of really cool things going on down there, and other cool YouTube friendships and things like that that I've developed as well. So I'm hoping to be able to catch up with some of these people and projects in the beginning of June is what I'm working on for my first trip out of town. It's really great to be able to think about being able to do something like this again. I was really having fun and enjoying doing some of that stuff and really kind of learning about some new skills or talents or anything like that, as you might put it, in doing those sort of videos and doing some of those sort of things. And I've gotten some really great responses from people, and you know, probably a lot of our subscribership that we've gotten over the last year or two comes from one of our really cool visits we did down in Los Angeles, the Urban Homestead. And there were some things that, you know, happen and you learn along the way, and some things that hopefully I've learned, and as far as production and doing some of those things and getting some of those things together that I'll be able to apply to some of this stuff. So that is kind of one thing about the time off, is a really good amount of time to be able to think about, you know, my approach and how I want to do some of these sort of videos in the future. The only other problem I have now is I'm also dealing with new technology. I've got myself new cameras. They're a little more advanced, and I'm going to have to really hone in on some skills there, but really looking forward to it. You know, it's going to be great, and I really look forward to able to bring you guys some of those videos. I've got some really great people lined up, some really cool projects lined up to show you guys that I'm hoping go through. I've just started making contacts for some of these. You know, I've talked to some people, you know, a year and a half ago, and so I'm trying to reestablish some of those contacts and also get some other ones set up too. So hopefully that comes together. And obviously I'm just going on about it. I'm really excited about that possibility. And let's see, we got is that Frere Garcon, right? Garcon. I'm sorry if I'm totally destroying your last name there. But you got a lot of plants going on in that room. Yeah, I've got a lot of different things growing on back here. Hey guys, come on. Cats decide they want to wrestle there right underneath of the camera as well too. But yeah, we got a lot of plants, a lot of things that I do, you know, as far as the indoor plants. A lot of those are just kind of a backdrop to our live streams and everything like that. I do mostly gardening vegetables and growing food in my outdoor gardens and all of that. But as you can tell with the camera right now, if it's shaking there, that's the cats right now deciding that this is their playtime is me. And it's probably my voice and me talking here right now. It's kind of got them excited and all of that too. So they, we've got all sorts of fun going on with this live stream this week. Believe me. Let's see, weather is great in Los Angeles. Garden is growing well. Planted beans, tomatoes, zucchini, squash, peanuts, soybeans, eggplants, all peppers. All peppers. Well, I hope that'd be a lot of peppers, but that's a lot of stuff you got going on. A lot of really good things going on down there in Los Angeles. I was just talking about Los Angeles. I'm going to be there in about a month, and we'll be doing some projects, visiting some really cool gardening projects, some really cool gardeners. Hopefully, bring to you a couple of YouTube friends that I've met over the last several years of doing this channel, and to be able to bring you guys some really cool content outside of what we're doing here on the Urban Gardener and our different projects we've got going on here. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of really great things. Most things I'm growing there, I do have a really good pepper garden, a lot of peppers, as you can see probably right behind me here. These are a lot of our indoor peppers that are just waiting for my last frost date up here to pass. I've learned over in seasons past that not to mess around with that, especially when it comes to peppers and that sort of thing, and they do just fine in here underneath. But we have some new lights, and if you saw our most recent video, or if you get a chance to go check back on our most recent video, I put together a video on us doing the transplants and talking about the different lights that we're using this year for them. They're really, really liking these lights. They're really growing really well, and probably going to be ready here in just a couple more weeks, and we're going to get them out and put into the gardens, and then we'll have those videos as well. Come on, guys. All right. Oh, this is a great, like I said, this is a fun live stream today. All right, on the farm with Smokey. Whoa, that time the camera almost went down. All right. All right. You guys. Boy, oh boy. They are going at it like crazy right now. But yeah, so sorry about all that. Sorry about the start of this whole live stream, especially for those of you who are watching our replay, who have had to kind of get through all of this kind of craziness to get this whole live stream started this week. Yeah, I think because of this new light I've got going on too here, I'm kind of being darkened up a little bit as well too. So that's just the way it goes this week. All right, so on the farm says hello back to you. Thanks for joining with me. Really glad to have you here with me on the live stream here. Let's see, that's like my house, cats everywhere. Yeah, I've got a couple of cats. They've been indoors the last couple of days, and they're really kind of getting anxious. And I think also as well too, as I'm talking, and that's kind of got them kind of excited, as well too. So they're just jumping around, going around everywhere right now. So I kind of had to shoo them off a little bit to get out of here before they knock the camera over there. All right, let's see, Debs and Rich Refuge. All right, hey Debs, how you doing? It's good to see you here on the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Really appreciate you guys joining with me here on this live stream this week. Like I said, we kind of have a little crazy start there. I'll get back to kind of what I was talking about here in just a moment. Just wanted to make sure I say hi to everybody who's jumping in here on the live stream right now. Let's see, we got howdy from North Central Washington. North Central Washington. Okay, let's see, where are you located with your garden? My garden is in Southern Oregon. So I live in the Rogue Valley in Southern Oregon, and that's where I've got my gardens growing. And you say from North Central Washington, so like north, like Columbia River kind of, or is it like more north, more towards Canada or something like that? Let's see, and as well, amazing. Your cats don't get into your plants everywhere. Yeah, well, I did mention that they've been indoors the last few days is because, they do great around all of my plants. They never mess with anything, especially having these down here being so low. I mean, it's just right at their level. And no, I don't have them mess with anything. But they get outdoors and they like to come outdoors and they hang out with me, and then they come in. They're really like try to be around my feet most of the time. They are really kind of my buddies, and they really kind of stick with me. But I usually let them go out there while I'm working in the gardens, and they'll just kind of hang out with me. But the last week or two, they've just out of nowhere just started digging and scratching a lot, and until I can put in other sorts of things to kind of keep them deterred from doing that, they're indoor cats right now. And like I said, they're a little bit anxious about things right now too. They don't quite understand why they haven't had the chance to be able to go outside with me for the last couple of days. All right, let's see. Okanagan Valley, 45 miles from Canada for almost 20 years. All right, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I've lived a lot of my life in Washington State, actually, all over the state. Though I've lived probably everywhere from I was born in Aberdeen, Washington. I lived in the Upper Peninsula. I lived in the Olympia area, Tacoma area, all the way up through and around the Puget Sound, up through northern King County. Spent a lot of time in South King County. In fact, that's where I raised my daughter. Spent all those years in that area. I've lived out in Spokane. Spent several years in Spokane, and also central. Again, they're gonna try to knock over that thing again, but yeah, Moses Lake. Spent some time in Moses Lake there in central Washington as well. So I've lived all over the Yakima. Yakima when I was a teenager. Spent a year or so there as well too. So I've lived all over the state of Washington, and found myself living down here in Southern Oregon. I really like it down here. Kind of like the situation and the place I live in and all of that sort of stuff. So everything's really great here. The weather's just really nice. I like it a little bit more on the warmer side. So in some sense, I do kind of like the Eastern Washington climate, especially when it gets towards the summertime, in the, as far as the nice hot weather that you get there as well. But yeah, a lot of the cooler, wet rain of like the Puget Sound and all that sort of stuff kind of chased me away down here to Southern Oregon. But yeah, been really enjoying it here. And this is also, since moving here though too, a little over a decade ago, since moving here is when I've actually really grown in my gardening though. This is where I took a lot of, my house plants, and I've told this story. In fact, I was just kind of sharing the story with one of my neighbors who was talking with me about some of the things we got growing on out there. And I've got a lot of experience since I was a young kid. My mother was a green thumb as far as house plants and all that sort of stuff, and that's the way it was well into my adulthood. I loved plants. I had a lot of plants. In fact, this pothos that's growing up behind me, I've had that since I lived in Spokane, Washington 20 some years ago, 25 years ago. I've had that plant since then. So I've had a lot of plants around me, but just before I moved here, I was living in an apartment up in South King County, Washington, and all I had was this balcony. I had a lot of house plants, and a friend of mine brought over a cucumber plant. He didn't know what to do with it. I can't remember what the story was of how or why he had it to begin with, but he knew I liked plants. He knew that I had a lot of plants, so he figured, he'd come and bring it to me, figured I'd know what to do with it. Well, it was a cucumber plant, and it wasn't a house plant, and I didn't know what necessarily to do with it ultimately. This was my real introduction to YouTube. What do I do with a cucumber plant? This was my introduction to YouTube gardening and the YouTube gardening community and all of that. Was trying to figure out what to do with this cucumber plant, and figured out, of course, it needs to get outside. I have a balcony space. I put it in, went and got it a nice big tub, stuck it on the balcony, and let it grow. And that thing vined up all over the balcony and grew out several really cool, delicious cucumber fruits. And my daughter, she really liked cucumbers, and so we tried and ate those cucumbers and was really kind of like amazed at the fact that oh boy, amazed at the fact that we were able to grow this ourselves. I mean, and this was kind of a light bulb for me, actually, was um, growing this food for myself for the very first time. And I was just like, wow, you don't have to just grow these house plants indoors. You can actually grow things that produce for you. I love the house plants still. I still end up taking too many of them home with me a lot of the time and all of that. But ultimately, I was more amazed at the fact that I was able to grow my own food. And just that next winter, I moved here to Southern Oregon, got this place, and it had some really limited space. I didn't know what I was going to be able to do with some of the ideas, that I wanted to do. I wanted to move on to tomatoes and try some other things like that, but I didn't have any real space that was, in ground. I'm thinking traditionally though. I'm thinking like, dig out and grow a real garden, and that's kind of where my mind was going. It was literally, I moved away from this apartment and this first opportunity of growing this on this balcony on this apartment, and my mind moved right into this idea of like a backyard garden and rows and all this sort of stuff. And and I was really only was capable of having this limited space. So that's when I had to kind of really kind of think back, like, wait a minute, and I'm not that far from the idea of growing on my balcony. I need to build like containers, boxes, do certain things, and I found those 5-gallon water wicking buckets and all of that sort of stuff. And it just started escalating. I have a neighbor who actually really started a lot of what we moved and transitioned into, was utilizing a lot of this alleyway space, a lot of this just space that's just usually growing a lot of bunch of noxious, gross weeds that are really not useful at all, and turning them into spaces that are growing food and productive, and doing that sort of thing. And I was telling that story to a neighbor who was kind of reflecting with me about how long I've been here and how they've watched the different things that I've made and done and set up. Because you walk through this alleyway space now, and it's kind of like a walking, which you can see yourself, I don't want to call food forest in a sense, but a lot of food production, a lot of plants that are growing lots of really great things. And I'm working more towards a more productive garden now, as I've met certain other learning goals, and those sort of things, are things that over time, which was, a great conversation with this neighbor about that sort of stuff, to be able to kind of reflect on that as what I've been able to do over the last decade. And and that's a lot about what the channel's about. That's a lot about what the videos are about. It's talking a lot about those sort of things, those sort of projects, those sort of ideas and things, to kind of perpetuate that idea to the wider audience, that we can take just limited spaces, even if you just live on a balcony. That was my very first experience with growing food, was on a balcony in an apartment growing cucumbers. And now that I think back on it, there were several other things I could have figured out and I could have done with just that limited space. And just that small amount of growing my own food was enough empowerment for me. You know what I mean? To really understand what, what my contribution ultimately to, this, we all need food to live, that sort of thing. And, learning to grow your own food is more enriching in a sense, not just in the, in the food itself, because it's a lot better than the food you get from a supermarket, which is where, I thought to begin with, before I figured out on growing my own food, is that's where food, farmers and farms grow this stuff, and you know, you go to the store or market and you buy it for yourself, you know, and having that empowerment to be able to grow your own food just on even a limited basis is pretty powerful, you know. I just, you know, have been kind of lucky with some of the space that I have to be able to expand out and reach out and to be able to show some different things whereas a lot of people might just have these small little things, you know, in these small little spaces. But even then, you can grow a few things, and then it's not only, like I said, you know, enriching in the fact that you're getting, you know, just a little bit more food for yourself from something that you grew yourself, and it tastes better, but also, you know, just growing and figuring that sort of thing out, I believe is just a really enriching thing, you know, for the soul when it comes down to it. It makes me feel so good as a person just to be able to do some of the things I do when I'm growing some of the things that I'm growing, you know, or to be able to learn to grow some new things that I never thought, you know, I would actually try or do, you know, because my fascination for plants and my growth within growing a garden has grown so much now that even my tastes have grown, you know. There are things I'm growing I never would have thought I would have ate. You know, I talked about, I think on a live stream a couple weeks ago or last week, that you know, I was one of those picky kids growing up. You know, I spent many a night sitting at the table with a plate of peas sitting there in front of me, you know, just completely refusing to eat those peas. You know, I was one of those stingy little kids, you know. And it's one of the things that I've learned in this whole gardening thing too. It's why I like talking about it. And I've got some people I'm going to be talking about too on this trip that's coming up, when we're specifically going to meet up with some people and talk about gardening and education. You know, is that, you know, that kid who is stingy and picky about his peas probably wouldn't have been as stingy and picky about his peas if that kid was growing peas. You know what I mean? And was within, you know, and I really believe in, you know, gardening programs for kids when they're young ages. You know, I think it's Ron Finley who I heard it from. I don't know if he originated the idea or the quote, but it's, you know, kids who grow tomatoes eat tomatoes. You know, and that's kind of the whole idea. So, you know, and I found that to be just as true in my adult life too, is that, you know, I'm growing and getting enriched by this gardening experience. And at the same time, I'm also developing different tastes and different, for different things that I didn't think I would. We had a whole conversation, I think, last week about okra. You know, I've only tried okra in one, you know, in one dish a couple of different times, but there's probably a ton of different things that could be done with it. I've just never thought about it. I've never thought about growing it necessarily. And after that conversation and other things that I've, you know, thought about and growing, I want to grow okra now, and I want to try it, and I want to expand those tastes, and, you know, in the long run, expanding my whole, you know, my whole experience, my whole life experience, you know, when it comes down to it. All right. Let's see here. Hi. Granny Sam's with us. Granny, good to see you. I had to cover some things last night, but all is well. Yeah, still again, it's not past last frost date for a lot of people, you know, out there, and there's just things that we've got to be careful about when we're planting things out and thinking about the certain stuff, you know. Again, pointing to the peppers that we've got right here under our LED lights, you know, which are in our last video, is that, you know, I'm not going to, you know, mess with I'm not gonna mess with Mother Nature and push or test it or any sort of way, and just kind of go to when we know and when the time's gonna be best, and then I can really foresee. And I think, you know, the way it looks, I could probably get away with doing it right now. You know, the way I can see from what it looks like in our forecast into the near future, it looks like we might be pretty well on our way, and last frost might have already gone and passed. But I'm still not going to test it. I'm still just not going to play with it. You know, you know, we spend a lot of good time getting some of this stuff together, or, you know, in some cases for some people, a lot of good money buying starts or getting certain things or doing that sort of stuff and getting our starts. And let's just, you know, to me, I think it's just best not to kind of test those sort of things and have to worry about, you know, and if you only have a few things, and a few things you got to watch after and cover. That's nice and well and good. But like for myself, who I've got sitting right here around 50 different pepper plants, to have to go, and which would be planted and put out in all sorts of different parts of the garden. It's just a heck of a chore to have to go out there and just emergency cover some things in order to kind of worry about possible flash frosts that might happen within the next couple of weeks. So we're just gonna give it time, let it happen, let it be. It's gonna be fine. Wait for last frost. Go ahead and stick them out in the garden then. All right, let's see here. Deb says, homegrown real garden food is easy, better than store good, and growing it yourself makes so much difference. Yep, and that's exactly what I'm saying, and it really does. And that's why I kind of like sharing that story of kind of how things worked out for me though too, is it really was just in a way, a whole way of just kind of opening a lot of things up for myself and figuring a lot of things out, about about what we can do ourselves, even with limited space, in the contribution of what we're intaking in as far as food, and the fact that that food is better, tastes better, and I also know how it was grown. You know what I mean? Ultimately, it came from my own labor, my own work, brought me that food. And that's, like I said, whether it's just growing a tomato plant, a pepper plant, maybe something else that you might be able to try in a small limited space. When you take that and you have that food and that stuff for yourself, that's really, really great feeling. It's really empowering, and I just can't state that enough when it comes down to it. And that's kind of all what we're about here too. When it comes to what we do here on the Urban Gardener, what this channel is all about, and that's how I want to continue to, put that message out into the world. That growing our own food is a really fun and enriching and empowering thing that we can do in our lives. Even if you wanted to just do it for a fun hobby, which a lot of gardeners do. And then some, like myself and others, take it really more serious as far as, actual food intake and food production. I really enjoyed the certain things I've been able to do and grow, and now I'm in that whole, well, how can I take my space and really get productive about it phase with all of the things I've learned over the years now. And that's really kind of a fun, process here as I've been learning over this last season and into this season too. So hopefully some of the things have really worked out, and as far as I can tell, things are really starting to grow out there. The gardens are really starting to come alive. A lot of the seeds and seeding that we've done in weeks past, those little starts are up and trying to make their way into the world. And so again too, I'm really hoping here in the next couple of weeks we'll get a couple of projects finished up, and I'll be able to bring you that content. And then as well, what we'll be doing is the late, ending spring kind of garden tour. We'll go around and I'll just kind of show everybody everything that we got going on. There's a couple of fails. There's a couple of things that haven't worked out quite as I intended them to, quite as they were, put on the videos. And that's one of the things I like to be able to do, is kind of go back and look at some of these sort of things too, and show where, I might have shown something on a video, but kind of look back and say, hey, this really actually didn't work as well as I had hoped it to. And there's still things that I find, as I'm testing and trying the bounds of gardening, that certain things just don't work out as we intend them to do. But then that's the fun of gardening as well. That's where the fun comes in, is be able to try and experiment and do all the sort of different things that are out there. When you get into exploring all the different types of gardening and gardening methods and things that are out there, it just really gets to show you about how, how really awesome and, cool, the gardening world is, Let's see here. Amelia joining us. Thanks for joining us. That's there saying, as long as it's organic, I stay away from chemical. And as far as I do too, and especially just, as far as chemical goes, weeding, all that sort of stuff. Brings me back to the conversation I was just having with my neighbor, who has some alleyway space right up along the alleyway there that I wanted to kind of clean up and fix up and do some things with. and we kind of agreed, and we're going to work together on doing some of that things with that space, and that's when they were talking about what they liked what I've been doing with some of the projects, and so they wanted to kind of get out, kind of contribute as well with their space. So we're going to be working on all of that. But one of the things we talked about was somebody within our neighborhood, and this person might have helped me pinpoint exactly who it might have been, is going around and spraying some sort of chemicals on some of these really, and they are listed and categorized as noxious weeds. They're really something that's really hard to get rid of and spread and do some things, and you can only really try to hold them back. And but they're trying to get rid of it with chemicals and bringing Roundup into the situation, and that's really where I start going, and I get really kind of crazy. So I'm kind of glad that they were able to bring it up to me, so I'll be able to go have a real personal conversation with the person who I think it might be, about how that's just not intended for that space and whatnot. They can do that with their space, which I don't encourage anybody to do, but some people are insistent. Some people grew up in a chemical era, and with a chemical mind, and on things, and that's how they are. I know several people who that's how they handle certain things, and that's how they grow. And to them, that's fine. I just don't want it leaching into my space. I don't want it near what I'm doing and growing for food. And luckily, these spots and these places where I've noticed this in the alleyway hasn't been anywhere close enough to where I would be worried about the actual food growing that I'm growing, but getting close enough that I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's create some boundaries here. Let's make sure that we're not that we're not doing that. So, but anyways, hopefully, we'll get that sort of thing taken care of. Looks like we're about 40 minutes in. And yeah, so a lot of things going on. I was trying to remember about getting back to something. I was kind of talking, I was just kind of talking about some of the things, the ideas we were going to, been making some contacts with some people. We're going to be making a trip here in a few weeks, finally, to get out on the road, to go do some interviews. It's where I really kind of have some fun with this channel and have an opportunity to be able to bring to all of you who watch this channel. For those of you who subscribe, which if you haven't, I really hope that you subscribe and you keep following along with us here, and keep joining with us here too each week here on Wednesday, for our live streams here on 5 p.m. Pacific time here on the west coast of the States, and I think that's 8 p.m. Eastern time for those on the East Coast, and then I'm not sure where in other parts of the States or the world it would be necessarily, but check your time zone difference between 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then come join with us here each week, 5 p.m., and we'll have a really fun conversation on whatever. Sometimes it just kind of goes into all different places, but really glad to have that kind of conversation, though, and retelling of that story of about discovering the ability to grow food for myself, even on a small, limited space. I mean, it's just really great thing I like to share, and I don't mind sharing as often as I can. Thanks for listening anyways, too. And let's see, it says it's a bit hard to hear me. Yeah, one of the things I'm going to have to do, I might have to check the setup after the cats kind of almost tried to knock over the thing. So I might have to re-gear, reset up or something like that. So that, and hopefully it's just not me getting too quiet or anything like that, or technology, but just another one of those ones. Every now and then we have one of these live streams where just all these little gremlins are just kind of trying to get in everywhere, whether it's the computer and having to switch and do all that like we had to at the beginning. That was frustrating. So now, I'm trying to keep up with this one because I don't have it hooked up right. And then also the camera setup as well too. So let's see here. enjoy this need to get my pasture irrigation pipes moved. I'll catch you again sometime. Excellent. Well, I really hope you do. Or if you get a chance, check out some of the videos, and come check us out here. And and again, like I said, we're here every Wednesday, 5 o'clock for a live stream. And that's also something I did want to mention to everybody as well too. I'm going to be trying to set up a couple of cool on-location live streams for when I'm out. So I think that I might be away for at least one Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly. Might be 2 Wednesdays, but we're going to keep the live stream going 5 o'clock and hopefully be on location somewhere else, and hopefully maybe with a special guest, somebody who can help kind of get some questions and jump in with us. So, all that sort of stuff, I'll keep everybody tuned into what's going on and all of that too. So if you also get a chance, if you wanted to kind of see what's kind of going on, or even get a chance to share some of your gardens and pictures and all that sort of stuff, the Urban Gardener has a Facebook group that's down in the description that you can check out as well too. It's called Let's Get Growing, a gardening group. And we're just a group here kind of different viewers and people, within our kind of closer urban gardener community. And you can go check out that group. Come send me a request to join in. I'd love to have you in there, and then you can join in and share with us some of your gardens and some of the things like that too, because I really like this to be a really kind of fun, interactive space as I'm trying to develop this sort of idea and these sort of things just a little bit more, and to get really consistent with it. That was one of the challenges that we've kind of had to work through over the last year or so, as it's been a challenge with a lot of people and all the different things that have gone on, so that kind of led to some really kind of not doing too well for the channel this last year. I only put out this last growing season, I only put out 7 videos for the whole year of 2020. We did a couple of live streams, and I think that was about it. And because of a lot of things going on, I wasn't really, giving this as much attention. So that's kind of where we're at. We're going to be real consistent. We're going to be here bringing things, and as soon as we can get out on the road, we'll be bringing different content, all that sort of stuff. I even got some really great ideas right here for our Wednesday live stream that we're going to be trying to introduce to the live stream in the next couple of months. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of that stuff kind of together. And then, like I said, with some real good consistency, every Sunday we're going to be putting out videos for our channel. There'll be at least a new video every Sunday, if not new stuff throughout the week as well too. We've got a couple of other segments we're trying out, a garden minute, and again, I've got a couple of things I got to get together, and we're going to try to do a couple of new top 10s. And hopefully maybe 1 or 2 that we'll get with a special guest on the road and that sort of stuff to kind of integrate some of that stuff into the channel. So I'm really hoping that all of you guys keep following along. Things are going to get more fun. We're going to be doing some more great things with the channel. And as well too, I encourage you to join up with the community. Come down and join us in that group down below, and then share with us some of your gardens and some of the things that you got growing on as well too. Excellent. And just kind of also, talking about, being able to get out and do that sort of stuff. That was some of the really fun things that I found with this channel, was getting to meet new people, meet other YouTube gardeners, meet other people in social media. I just saw a new video being brought out by Amy, who we got to meet up down in Los Angeles a couple of seasons ago, and we did a really cool video. She spent most of her time in gardening and social media doing Instagram. Her Instagram's really good, and she does a lot of stuff on growing, and it's called At Front Yard Veggies. And Amy Bauer, and we did a video, did an interview, and checked out her gardens that she grew out on these driveways and all of that. But nowadays she's over on the East Coast now. She's got a big kind of cool outdoor space that she's trying out a couple of different methods of gardening with, and she's now sharing some things on YouTube again and stuff. So it's really great to be able to catch up with people who are in the gardening community as well, and be able to feature that here on this channel too. So really great. Kind of really glad to have all of you here. Let's see here, we're looking at 48. Yeah, so at that, I think right now I am probably just gonna be heading out on this live stream today because I do have a lot of things I gotta catch up with. I've got a couple of contacts. In fact, I've been getting a couple of messages here. And I'm kind of getting distracted, and I don't want to bring that on to you guys here and all of that. And so what we're gonna do is I think we're gonna end this live stream for this week. We are running on in about 50 minutes, heading towards an hour, kind of where we like to keep it. Our last couple of live streams did kind of run a little bit late. We did get into some really kind of fun conversations. So again, I really hope that you all join with us this next week, 5 p.m. Pacific time, to join with us on our live streams here on the Urban Gardener. And again, I thank you all for joining me. We'll see you again this next week or in an upcoming video.